Have you ever been in a room where nobody's talking, but somehow it feels uncomfortably loud? Not loud like music or traffic, loud like your brain suddenly turning the volume all the way up. You're sitting there, maybe with a friend, maybe with someone you just met, maybe with someone you used to be close to. Nobody says anything. And in those few seconds of silence, your mind starts doing Olympic-level thinking. Did I say something weird? Are they upset? Should I say something? Why is this so awkward? And suddenly that quiet moment feels heavier than a whole conversation. But here's the strange part. Silence is literally the absence of sound. So why does it sometimes feel louder than words? Why can a few seconds of silence make people more uncomfortable than an argument? And why do some silences feel peaceful, while others feel like emotional pressure cookers? There's actually a fascinating reason for this, and once you see it, you'll start noticing silence in a completely different way. First, let's talk about something important about the human brain. Your brain hates uncertainty. Seriously, your brain would rather hear something bad than hear nothing at all. Because when there are words, there's information. When there's silence, your brain has to guess. And guess what your brain is really good at? Jumping to the worst possible conclusion. Let's say you send someone a message. You ask something simple like, "Hey, are we still meeting tomorrow?" If they reply quickly, "Yep, see ya," great, your brain relaxes. But if they don't respond for hours, suddenly your brain becomes a full-time detective. Did I say something wrong? Are they ignoring me? Did they see the message? Are they secretly annoyed with me? Meanwhile, the other person might just be taking a nap. But silence creates a blank space, and your brain rushes to fill that blank space with stories, usually dramatic ones. Silence doesn't give answers, so your brain starts inventing them. Now here's where it gets interesting. Silence isn't just about missing words. Silence can actually carry emotion. Think about the difference between these two situations. Situation 1. You're sitting with a close friend. You're both tired. Nobody's talking, but the silence feels calm, comfortable, like your brains are both saying, "Yeah, we're good. No need to perform." That kind of silence feels peaceful. Now, situation 2, you're sitting with someone after an argument. Nobody's speaking. You can almost feel the tension in the air. It's quiet, but your brain is screaming. Should I apologize? Are they still mad? Is this the end of our friendship? Same silence, very different feeling. Why? Because silence doesn't just remove sound, it amplifies emotion. When words disappear, your brain starts paying attention to everything else. Facial expressions, body language, eye contact, tone of breathing. Suddenly, you're analyzing things like an FBI agent. Okay, they blinked twice. That probably means something. And the funny thing is, half the time it means absolutely nothing. But silence forces your brain to search for meaning. Because humans are wired for communication. For thousands of years, survival depended on understanding the people around you. If someone in your tribe stopped talking to you, that could mean conflict, or rejection, or danger. So your brain evolved to treat silence like a potential signal. Even today, a simple quiet moment can trigger that ancient instinct. Your brain starts asking, "Is something wrong?" And that question alone can make silence feel louder than any conversation. Now here's another reason silence feels powerful. Words are clear. Silence is open-ended. When someone says, "I'm angry," you understand the message. But when someone says nothing, your brain starts filling in the blanks. Are they angry? Disappointed? Sad? Thinking? Planning revenge? Okay, maybe not revenge, but you get the idea. Silence is like an empty canvas, and your imagination is the artist. Sometimes that's beautiful. Sometimes it's terrifying. Now let's add a little humor here. Have you ever sent a message, seen the little typing bubble appear, and then suddenly it disappears? That moment is pure psychological torture. Your brain instantly goes, "Wait, what were they going to say? Why did they stop typing? Was it bad? Did they change their mind?"
That tiny moment of silence between typing bubbles can create more suspense than a movie trailer. Hollywood spends millions creating tension. Meanwhile, messaging apps are out here doing it for free. But silence isn't always uncomfortable. Sometimes silence is actually the deepest form of communication. Think about sitting next to someone you truly trust. Maybe a best friend, maybe a partner, maybe a family member. You're both quiet, but the silence feels warm, like a pause in a song. Not awkward, not heavy, just peaceful. That kind of silence means something powerful. It means you don't feel the need to prove yourself. You don't need to entertain. You don't need to explain. You can just exist, and the other person understands. Ironically, that's when silence becomes louder than words in a good way, because it says things words can't. I'm comfortable with you. I feel safe here. We don't need to fill every second. But here's where many people struggle. A lot of us are uncomfortable with silence, so we rush to fill it. We say random things. We ask unnecessary questions. We start talking about the weather like it's breaking news. Wow, hot today. Yes, it's July. Everyone knows. But silence can feel awkward because we think it means something is wrong. In reality, silence is just space, and space can be useful. Think about conversations where someone asks a deep question. Sometimes the most honest answer comes after a pause. That moment of silence gives your brain time to think, to feel, to be real. Without silence, conversations would just be noise, words stacked on top of words, no breathing room. Silence is the punctuation of human interaction. It's the pause that gives meaning to the sentence. And here's something interesting psychologists have noticed. People who are comfortable with silence often appear more confident. Why? Because they're not afraid of the pause. They don't feel pressure to constantly perform. They know the conversation doesn't need to be filled every second. Ironically, the person who stays calm during silence often ends up controlling the rhythm of the interaction, while everyone else is panicking internally like, say something, anything. Meanwhile, they're just sitting there like, nice weather though. Now here's the deeper truth. Sometimes silence feels louder because it forces you to face your own thoughts. When there's noise, music, conversation, scrolling, your mind is distracted. But in silence, your thoughts finally have room to speak. That's why many people avoid quiet moments, not because silence is scary, but because their own thoughts might be waiting there. Questions like, am I happy with where I am in life? Am I avoiding something? Do I need to make a change? Those questions usually don't show up in loud environments. They show up in quiet ones, which is why silence can feel intense. It's like your brain finally gets the microphone. But here's the beautiful part. Silence isn't the enemy. It's actually one of the most honest parts of communication. Words can hide things. Words can pretend. Words can perform. Silence usually can't. Silence reveals. It reveals comfort. It reveals tension. It reveals emotions people might not know how to say. And sometimes the most meaningful moment in a conversation isn't when someone speaks, it's the pause right before they do. Because that pause is real. It's raw. It's human. So the next time silence shows up in a conversation, instead of rushing to destroy it, try noticing it. Is it peaceful? Is it tense? Is it thoughtful? Because silence isn't empty. It's actually full of information, full of emotion, full of meaning. Sometimes silence feels louder than words, not because it's noisy, but because for a moment, nothing is hiding anymore.